I'd like to call the Freetown Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. Today is the August 7th, 2017. It is exactly 6 o'clock right now. And if I could, I'd like to have everybody rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Is anybody recording the meeting?
I am.
Freetown and Ally, Administrative Secretary. Selectman present, Selectman Sullivan and Selectman Joes. Selectman Pacheco is not present. She is unable to attend tonight's meeting. As the second senior ranking member, I guess, I'll be taking her position, her spot today. So we have the agenda. Let's go over the agenda. On the consent agenda, the Board of Selectmen has to sign the annual review of the radar system for tax collection and financial applications. We already had the meeting on this. We approved it. This is just the actual signature of the contract. To approve an ambulance abatements for the month of June 2017 as submitted by the fire chief. To discuss and vote to establish a K-9 donation account, which we've discussed in the past. Discuss renovation of Station 1 with fire chief and building inspector. Request from the Angels in America regarding Go Gold ribbons throughout Freetown in support of kids fighting cancer. Discuss with the highway surveyor Charles McElmer relative to Chapter 90 money. Project requested for crack sealing in various roads. Discuss with the building inspector Scott Barbado issues on Zero Lock Lane and Two Buddies Crossing. To approve of one-day liquor license for Camp Welch for August 9th, 2017. The Board of Health has two items on the agenda. To discuss 251 Middleborough Road septic issues with ET Engineering Enterprises, and to discuss transfer station dumpsters and possible approval for purchase for new dumpster. Personnel Board has several things on the agenda. Reappoint election workers as submitted by Town Clerk Jacqueline Brown. The attachment of the names was attached and posted at the Town Hall for public review. Discuss setting up meeting with Town Library, Town Hall, Library, Highway Department unions to accept, sign, and change of status resignation for Jordan Costa as submitted by Charles Macomber, Highway Surveyor. Discuss recommendations as well as point, sign, change of status for part-time Council on Aging Senior Clerk Sarah Gilbert as submitted by Janet Tinsdale, COA Chair, and discuss recommendations as well as appoint, sign, change status for two library technicians, Chelsea Hester and Brittany Normandin, as submitted by Dorothy Stanley Ballard, Library Director. And then new business to select upcoming times for meetings. With all that being read, I think we can start right at the top. Sign the VADAR agreement. If you recall, Charlie, we met and agreed to sign the agreement. It's finally in front of us. Do I have a motion to endorse?
I do have a motion to endorse the contract.
And I'll second that. I have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Ambulance abatements. Chief, you're here with your ambulance abatements. We have... Sorry, the contract's quite lengthy. From Comstar to Kimberly Fales, Town Accountant. Contractual allowance for an abatement for the month of June 2017 is made and specified for $87,259.96. Right off the period of June 2017 is made as specified and attached Comstar aggregate of $2,311.39 for a total write-off of $89,571.35. What's the two discrepancy like that? Normally it's...
One is strictly contractual allowances. That's you have a contract with Blue Shield. No matter how much you bill above it, they pay a certain thing. Same thing with Medicare and Medicaid. The other one is it's either financial hardships, something with just people they can't reach them with a bill or whatever, and we have to provide it off.
Okay, so the total is $89,571.35.
All right, I'll make a motion to make those adjustments and total sum of $89,571.35.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Next in front of us from the police chief, which he is here to represent it. Come down, chief.
Good evening.
Is the setting up a K-9 donation account. We've talked about this in the past. Looks like on your letter it was April 4th was our last meeting.
That's correct.
We took no action at that time. We want to wait till after the town meeting, since the town meeting is now done.
Yes, we were gonna wait till after the town meeting, and B, there was a question about whether donated funds could be used to offset wages. I checked with the town accountant and also appended a copy of the applicable Massachusetts statute, and the answer to that question is yes. If the board approves the use of such funds. In my letter, I also included a list of all of the things that the donation could be used for, so that way there's no question in the future. There's also some procedural safeguards. Instead of having individuals go out and try to raise money for us, which is well intended, I think it's better that we set up the donation account so that the town controls the money coming in, it's scrutinized by the accountant, it's used for the specific purposes enumerated in the correspondence. The selectmen have to sign off on the warrant, it passes my eyes as well. So I think that's the best procedure to use.
And all donations will be earmarked directly towards the K-9 donation account, so there's no ambiguity as to what it was actually for.
No commingling, and an individual could specify a more narrower use. So if they didn't want it to be used for any of the other purposes, they could say just food or something like that.
That might take, you might have to have a sub-account if you did something to that effect, wouldn't you?
I talked to the accountant, she didn't think that would be a big problem.
Okay.
I think most people are just going to make a donation out. And the other thing we would do is anytime we solicit or have anything with respect to trying to attract donations, we're going to include what those donations can be used for. So we're right up front with a disclosure.
Okay. Any questions, Sean?
No, I'm fine.
All right.
Should I make a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we set up the K-9 fund as specified in the chief's letter of July 24th.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Do you have any discussion, John?
No, I'm good.
All right. I have a motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I thought I would be-
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that's it for you tonight. Light night tonight. Discussion renovation Station 1 with Fire Chief and Building Inspector. I see Mr. Barbado and Mr. Chief Sylvia. Come on down. What are you thinking, like a nice second floor, maybe
Well,
a top
that'd be nice,
clothes rack, maybe? Drying towel?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, good luck.
That's right.
That's right.
I asked the chief to come in because engine 1 is going to have to be replaced, and there's major issues with the way the bays are now and being able to fit any type of a fire engine.
So what do we have for options? We can alter the station, we can alter the equipment, what's our options?
Option one is we can build a fire truck to fit through that small, narrow space. I spoke with our salesman from Bulldog Fire Apparatus, and he says they think they can fit an International into the space we have. It'll be compact, but I think
Similar to engine 1 now.
similar, very similar to that. And you guys feel that truck, everything's all squeezed in there, everything's just kind of piled in the back.
All right.
The other option is their smallest custom cab is 96 inches. But the problem is it'll fit through the hole, but the height because it's just, we need 115 inches of clearance above. You have to either square the door off, is an option. Obviously, you can square one door off, you gotta square the other door off. And that's what this fella comes into play, because I don't know what that means. The third option would be to put one big door, and similar to what Acushnet did at one of their substations, they took out the middle section and made one big square door to fit the more modern apparatus in. And I guess another option would be to lower the entire floor and apron down. Similar to what they did in Boston for their historic fire stations, put fire apparatus in.
If we lower the door, the floor,
Yep.
we have, we're thinking probably about 6 inches. How much would that help the situation?
Right now, we're at 112, so we went down 6 inches, you'd be at 118, which you
160,
inches of
118.
play. But still, that's a major
But,
undertaking.
right, the width would be still a problem.
It's still gonna be, the door is about, just under 10 feet wide. So the truck itself is 8 foot. We like to have at least a foot for the mirrors. When you guys go by Station 1, you see what's been banged up so many times in the truck, grazing it and everything else.
Not by me.
I'm pretty sure one of them showed that big crack in the back. I'm
I
pretty
know
sure.
that's not me.
But it's very difficult. Unfortunately, we are outgrown that station after all these years.
Scott, have you looked at the masonry? What is it there? Is it mason, all masonry? Is
Well,
it?
it's probably just, unreinforced masonry, so if you did modify it, you'd have to reinforce it again.
Right.
But, keep it symmetrical and having it look okay is what you gotta think about, with the design, so. I don't know, we just have the options, how to, follow through with which one, if they all have benefits and cost.
Well, can we work out some kind of study, and it doesn't have to be a formal study, but talk to some engineers, see what's there, see what we have for options, whether it's a dig under, or if we do square it off with one big door or 2 square doors. Obviously, one big door, you're gonna have to have a carrying beam, reinforce the sides, because that's gonna hold the whole front of the building up. Where 2 open doors might be,
Yeah, I'm not sure. Those arches they don't go all the way to the ground, so I'm assuming they're not carrying a whole lot of weight. It's just basically, it's a cement arch
Yeah,
that
just so they
that
call it
sits on top of the.
veneer, yeah.
do you think it's
on
just
top of
a fascia, or you think it's just a facade then?
Well, it's holding it up for sure, but I mean, you could certainly transfer that, with some type of a brick shelf, like you said, have a structural engineer take a look at it
Yeah.
and see that's the look. I mean, you could certainly get the function, but you're gonna be happy with the look. That's one thing, because we can
Right.
talk to some masonry companies, and, you could remove it, and they make, certainly just easy to take it out, but, how do you make sure it looks okay?
And that's some of the concern. I mean,
I
it's
understand
not a,
it's part of the
it's
building.
not a historical building to the fact it's not 150 years old. It was built in, I think, the 40s, late 40s after the war. So, I mean, it is a 60-year-old building. We've gotten our money's worth out of it, I think. But it's still, it's in the center of town. It should look appropriate. So if we can,
I think we'll see if we can get a couple of masonry companies to take a look at it,
See
because
what
sometimes they
around,
have surplus brick and they have lots of products. We have a couple of those yards around here. We can talk it up from Taunton and other vendors, see what they think.
And of course-
It's not that big. Get our hands around how big it is exactly.
the last option would be go back to the KME and see what we can put in there and what this truck would look like if we.
They did something similar with the town of Lee. They made a custom that would fit into one of their tight buildings, but maybe they gotta fold one mirror in to get it in and fold it out, call it.
That's the other thing. When you get to a certain point when you're spending more money on the truck to make it custom, that can only fit in that one truck can only fit in that one station versus just, make the station so all your vehicles can fit in.
But I always wondered if we just take if we could redo the arches higher.
Well,
That would keep
Charlie's point, I think that would be, you would be doing the dig out and that would do that, but the width would be the issue then.
Yeah, width is still gonna be an issue.
So, if you guys could, knock it around a little bit, see what you come up for options, and then we can maybe pursue one of the options when it's time.
Because a new truck would have to be but you got 2 years before the new truck would have to basically get in for 25 years.
Yeah. So another thing, you're looking at a piece of apparatus gonna be in service until 2045,
Right.
Yeah.
in theory.
And this one's 25 years, what, 2019? So,
Sure. Available? Okay.
all right,
That was easy.
thank you.
Yes.
Scott, you have something else on here. Do you want to talk about that? Yes. I
that's
will,
fine. Sure.
use the chairman's prerogative and take something a little bit out of order here while Scott's here. You want to talk about Zero Lock Lane and Buddy's Crossing?
Sure, and I think with Mr. Cavallaro here at Buddy's Cross, and I mean, first off, Lock Lane has been an ongoing, I would say, legal enforcement battle with an existing house that was there. That house is now gone and a new house is being built, but the problem still exists across the street. Some of the trash has just been moved across to the street, and you know, now that we have, there's 3 houses on the street. One's renovated, the other one was in great shape, and now this one's gonna be brand new. So it's really calling attention to that, that amount of debris that's left there. And you know, absent a Board of Health official, I received a complaint about that and just kind of forwarded it through and looked at the way that we might have options to handle it. And I was told to call the town's attorney, and did. Jeff Blake got back to me, and you know, once again, we've got about a 2-inch file on Lock Lane, hoping that doesn't go through again that way. You know, we were, you know, trying to zero in just based upon our experience on how to handle something like that, and you know, benefit the neighborhood. The homeowner with the new house has offered to pay for the removal, so there wouldn't be any cost essentially besides the legal fees if we were to get some type of hopefully a permanent injunction because it's a vacant lot. I'm thinking through housing court. The attorney agreed with that. The only wrinkle is, and I think it's a perfect forum to kind of discuss that, is the person who was living in the house that ended up getting demolished, you know, is believed to have an interest in the property, but I don't believe it to be true, that he did a title search. So I would hope that we could almost do a situation where we did alternative notification, which is basically just an advertisement, if the judge allows it, to the owner of the property, and maybe get an injunction. Because quite clearly, we all know last time that person's involvement certainly complicated things, and I mean, there was a house there, so maybe it was warranted. But you know, if you guys would take that into consideration to maybe say, focus on just asking for it. I mean, if we were unsuccessful, maybe be unsuccessful with a judge quickly, but if we are successful, get a permanent injunction just to get that done for no cost.
Do you see an imminent danger, health danger, with the way it is now?
Well, I mean, I think there's clearly a relationship to it, and we've had seminars with housing court, and the housing court clerks have basically told us that building officials and Board of Health officials, you know, can present these cases, and I have, you know, before, not that I'm really interested in that end of it, but we've had a couple situations where we're able to explain to them, you know, the dangers and try to cut through. You know, it's usually absentee landowners, which is this case. You know, the people just aren't there and responsible to do what the town wants them to do. So I think that if we were, you know, allowed to do that through housing court, got the injunction, I don't want to prolong, you know, back and forth situation. I don't think that's the case because there's no house there. But I mean, as far as the danger, I mean, it's very clear. It's a marshland. It's a water source. It's regulated. We did have DEP out. We had everybody there before, all the town departments. But you know, to have someone able to not live at a lot, to come down the street and to leave, you know, this stuff unrestricted forever, it's just it's a problem. You know, and that community has been, we've had a lot of demo rebuilds on Santa Fe Shores lately, and you know, we don't have many vacant houses, and I think the neighbors probably would appreciate the fact that if we set the tone to clean it up, you know, it would hopefully keep that way.
Another angle I'm going to look into when I started is to see if he actually has any right to have anything on that property. You know, it might become a situation where it's really illegal dumping of material there, because we really don't know what the relationship, if there's any, to the property owner. So, get a little angle on that.
Okay.
And I'm thinking maybe the easiest way would be actually to criminally go after dumping if he has no permission to be there. So
But I think that may be the case, and I think it's pretty well known that we have a person who owns the property who doesn't have the ability to communicate to us.
Right.
You know, so maybe we just don't have anybody who can work with us. You know?
Right, exactly. So I'm wondering if it's not really illegal dumping. The other thing, and I'm going to make a motion, it is under tax title.
Right, it's for 5 years back taxes.
We're going to try to expedite that if we can.
Okay.
Not that. But, so if you would work on your end, I'll work on the possibility of it being illegal dumping situation. Maybe we can get this thing cleaned up pretty quick.
Well, I mean, if you authorize me to work with Jeff Blake, the only part that I was asking for was that you specified that it was almost like alternative service.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was apprehensive about that, and just to put it in the open because he feels that the person is known to him. But I just don't know if that's the way to go, because we're not asking for any extra expense. We're not trying to take anybody's valuables. You know, we're really just trying to get something that he may think is art and we think is junk.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
And I'm not, I'm not sure that the person has the, junk on the property has any real authority to do such.
Yeah, I highly doubt it too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's complicated it, you know, in the past, that variable.
The courts were involved with all this, and I know a lot of that stuff was on his property originally. It was moved from his property over to that vacant lot. Was the court aware that's what was transpiring? Was that part of the settlement with the town? 'Cause
Well, they were, and what they did ultimately was just kind of picked and chose, you know, which codes were being, you know, met and enforced, you know, and it was just kind of taking a big problem, looking at small pieces of that problem, and to the fact that it all kind of went away, and the fact that the house got demolished, you know, so we spent a lot of time, you know, trying to work with gas leaks and trying to work with, you know, electricity that was being taken and all these other codes, and it turned out that we just ended up demolishing the building. I think at this point, so I try to simplify it, just to go for one question, just to ask a land court judge if we can have the right to remove that debris and property and to put a permanent injunction in place so that it doesn't get created again. I don't know if they would agree. I think that would be great for us to do, but we did have an awful lot of, because he was living in a house, it was a whole different type of enforcement. You know, here, this is just a vacant lot, you know, with waterfront property being, you know, I think it's clearly from the pictures it's dumped on, but that's what it comes down to with the attorney that says, what's one man's, you know, property and what's one man's junk.
By definition, is it
Yeah.
rubbish or is it property? If it's property, he
Right.
has the right to store property on his real estate. If it's rubbish, then we have health code violations.
Well,
Rubbish
yeah.
falls under the health code.
I think, you know,
And that's what one of the avenues we pursued last time when we went down this little avenue.
right, and from their point of view, it is compliant. This is kind of a new situation where it's changing sometimes. You know, what you have there is, you know, one day you could have some broken fence, one day you could have another car. One day you could have two cars and one will be gone. So it's just a constant revolving situation that, you know, with the three houses on the dead-end street, seems pretty, you know, cleaned up and residential, and that's what they're trying to do. I don't know that, I guess we just make the decision to, you know, either just go for this injunction based on the items being there, not really to debate whether he has the right to put it there or not, because I think that the person who owns the property isn't available to be talked to. I think that's just well known, so I don't know how, you know, you're gonna intercede with that.
That's not the same title, though, is it?
You know.
As what was it, 1 Lock Lane was the original address?
Right, right.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's zero,
This is
one
across
lot
the street.
lane, yeah, it's across the street.
Is it the same title or is it two separate? I thought that was two separate titles.
Two separate
It is.
lots.
It's two separate titles. The individual that's name is on the title and the lot in question
Mhm.
once owned one lot land.
Right.
So, and there apparently was a relationship with the owner of one lot lane with the owner of,
Was it the original owner that has now since passed?
well, I don't know that we know.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know if it's passed, we just know that the property didn't get transferred appropriately to anybody else.
That might have to go through probate court. That property was owned by a gentleman that passed away. It went to family members, and that's where all this ended up with that 1 Lock Lane, and I don't know what the
Yeah.
situation was on 0 Lock Lane.
And that's the thing, I don't think we're looking for an interest in the property, other than the town maybe taking it for
Tax
taxes.
title.
I think we're looking to, I think the benefit here is possibly that the person who is willing to do the cleanup for free could just get things done quicker, for their own interest, to clean up the street.
Yeah, as long as it's not moving
Right.
private property that's legally theirs.
I'd like to, as part of this, make a motion that we send a letter to the tax collector, treasurer, Jessica Thomas, instructing her to expedite the tax title on this property as.
Through the assessor's office, through the board of assessors. I'll
Right.
second the motion. And the motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Well, do you want to get involved with going for the temporary
This
restraining
is
order?
this is just the motion for this for now.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I would say, start the process of trying to get this property cleaned up. Like I said, I'm looking into if we can find out where the ownership is and if the person who's putting anything on there has any right to do so. Because I'm kind of wondering about that.
Okay.
And then, we can work on that, and so.
So we'll hold and,
Well, I'd go a little bit with trying to get an injunction, but you may be able to stop that before we go too
well,
far.
I think we certainly could. I mean, if we went to housing court, that's what they're there for. And I think that inside of a month, maybe with 2 visits at the court, like I said, if the judge has those apprehensions that you have, I mean, they're the authority. And if they say, I think we're taking someone's property away from them, I mean,
But
you
you
know
don't
right away.
really know who you're bringing to court yet until you know who owns the property. That you can file an injunction on the person, but if if he can show legal ownership of the property, we don't really have process unless you can prove that there's rubbish or another health code violation to stop moving people's property off of their private land. I don't see that authority anywhere. You know something
No,
I
think
don't know?
Well, I think we're asking for the authority from the judge. That if we had the authority, we probably would have exercised it, but no, it is private property, but it is considered by a lot of people to be junk. It's not like I mean, I'm not an expert at people's junk, but it looks like you saw the pictures.
Well, there is a legal definition of what rubbish is, how it pertains to our bylaws. So the other thing I think you should do is bring the new health agent up to speed on the case. Have him go through all the last findings, and maybe he can exercise some of his authority also to get this thing moving.
Yeah, I did. I spoke with him today. He has had some experience going into housing court and filing those items as well, but has not gotten to the point where they had to actually see a judge, because it is pretty effective once you actually do file it, and people are aware that it may not go their way, they'll protect their interests.
This has taken almost 2 years the last time. He didn't want to, everything was prolonged, didn't show up to meetings, so it could be a long road and a
Well,
long
that was the
expensive
thing,
road.
it was kind of made difficult, and that's why I was hoping to, because we know that he doesn't own the property, we found out the last time. If we presented it to the judge, and the judge agreed that we could, clean it up and remove it, store it, I think it would just, would set the precedence. But I mean, if we don't do it through housing court, I don't know of any other way, because the judge has to grant us this. And it's not an imminent danger situation, I would have handled that
That was
differently.
my first question. That's why I wanted to know if there was something that was leaching into the water, if there's something that was an imminent danger, a building that was going to collapse, or something to
No,
that
I
effect.
mean, it's kind of an attractive nuisance and nothing's happened yet, but it's standalone items, it's cars, it's an old boat that's up on, jack stands and stuff like that, so I mean, I don't know if anyone would get involved with that and get hurt, but, it's not a perfect situation, but once again, it doesn't appear to be imminent, like a building's gonna fall and hurt somebody.
There are like 5 unregistered cars there. Maybe.
Well, we have a bylaw for that.
Yeah, we have the unregistered car bylaw, so we can at least reduce it to 2. Something we can do, so.
Well, I think we could, yeah, I mean, we have a fine process through the clerk of courts and stuff, and they're aware of that last time we started that way.
So there's a good place to stop. It's a good point, Charlie.
All right.
Okay, sure.
Next is 2 Buddies Crossing.
Yeah, well, we had a call about 2 Buddies Crossing, reviewed the property and noticed that it appeared as though there was a garage too close to the street. Spoke with the owner, the owner had a position, we had a position. I wasn't the building official at the time that it was built, but there was, some misunderstandings that, that I believe he might have been here for himself, he can speak for himself. But once again, we just had a difference of opinion, but I feel that it's pretty clear that the intent of zoning is to have something moved if it's, there was no permit for this to be in the location. It's a detached structure. The only protection you have for not pulling a permit, you still would need to meet the setback, but the exemptions are for sheds and for playhouses. And the size was under 200 square feet. There was a period of time where somehow 400 square foot was discussed, because that was when I first got here. I know that there was a 400 square foot figure for detached structures, sheds. And I looked into that and changed it as soon as I noticed it. So I think this is probably just a little bit of that misunderstanding, collateral damage that we have at this point. So I'm trying to work it out with Mr. Cavallaro. And again, if he's here and wants to speak to it, I mean, that's fine with me. But last we spoke, he intended on focusing on moving it to the setback. He's allowed to have the structure, for
Is it
sure.
detached, is it
It's a detached garage.
Is it permanently attached to the ground? Is it lagged down to a cement piling?
It's on a concrete slab.
It's on a slab, so that's not an easy move. Have you gone, well, first, can you name and address, please, for the,
Charles Cavallaro, Two Buddies Crossing.
would you like to speak to this, Mr. Cavallaro?
Well, I might as well, because I feel I'm being, not by Scott personally, being screwed. Plainest, I'm sorry. I don't know how else to say it. In the fall of 14, I went to the building inspector's office, and I asked, I want to build a detached accessory structure. Call it garage, call it what you will. It's a detached accessory structure by code. This town had a requirement of under 400 square feet. And I knew that. But I went to the town hall, said, what do I have to do? This is what I want to do. And I was told I have to meet the setback requirements, stay under 400 square feet, I can do whatever I want. I said, fine, what's the setback structure? So setbacks. I was told it's 50 front, 10 side, 10 rear. I said, okay, I have 2 streets. I'm on a corner lot. Doesn't matter, you only have 1 frontage. That's what I was told. I said, so you're telling me I can be 10 feet off Jordan Lane? Yes. I built 396 square feet, 12 feet off the road, 12 feet off my property line on the side, the other side. And now here I come later, somebody called and complained about it, and I'm being forced to spend a ton of money when I did nothing wrong. Yes, I do not have it in writing, you're correct. And yes, the building official has changed it back to 200, which is state code, I get that. I do know the state building code somewhat, I do have a contractor's license, so I understand it, but I went and asked first.
What are you saying is off the side setback?
Less than, a great amount less than 50.
I'm
Yeah, it's
38
pretty
feet
close.
less than where it belongs by zoning.
Yeah.
You're setting his front setback on, what, Buddy's Crossing?
No, this is on 2 streets. He says a corner lot. It says 2 streets.
So you're saying both off front are,
2 fronts, 2 sides. That's the way to interpret a corner lot.
well,
Once
Have you-
again, I'm not looking for this. This was brought in, by a neighbor.
have you
I mean,
given a decision in writing yet?
Yeah, we requested that he would move it, and the attorney, agreed, and like I said, it's a tough situation. I'm not giving him a heavy hand here, and, we've given him the options.
Have you
that
thought
are
about
there.
appealing to the zoning board of appeals? Because the zoning board of appeals has had many cases like this.
You're
similar cases.
absolutely right. I'll lay it straight up. I've already talked to Scott about this, so I'm not saying anything happened. My gut feeling now is to move it, because I feel that I can probably move it for not a whole lot more than zoning's gonna cost me. Zoning's not cheap. Then whoever this party is still has the right to appeal it. And it
Yeah,
only costs
21
me
days,
more
yeah.
money. When I shouldn't be spending any money because I didn't do anything wrong. And I know they wanna give me a building permit now, but this building did not need a building permit when it was put up. I was within the 400 square feet that didn't need one at the time.
Right.
So I'm appreciative that he's trying to help me, I really am. But I get caught in a loophole here that I shouldn't be spending a dime.
I don't recall when it was 400 square feet for not.
Well,
need a building
what I
permit.
can tell you is, and we've already discussed this as well, that notebook that the secretary read out of is still there.
Well, it does say 400. Like I said, we're not arguing the facts here. It's just before my time situation.
No, we've had many conversations on this.
So, I mean, this is almost still kind of fact-finding. The first thing we do is speak with the owner, and then we send a letter,
But to resolve the situation, state law, well, state is 200 square feet. We now are 200 square feet.
It's 200.
You're requiring him to get a building permit.
Not requiring, we gave him the option. I said, I'll certainly give you a building permit if you can move it and just, it'd be a
But
valid
without
permit.
moving it, you can't get a building.
I can't give him a building permit because he's got a zoning violation that,
Correct,
has been complained about.
correct.
It's a tough situation, really is. I'm telling you,
Yeah, I
I
know.
thought of it for 3 days in a row with Mr. Cavallaro, and I'm glad he stated, before my time, because it's hard to believe that, someone would say all of those things to this person I relied upon. I sympathize with him. But, that being aside from it, zoning enforcement and the setback is, trying to do it as easy as we can. And if he's leaning to that way to move it, I don't know what other accommodations I can do. I don't have the right to give him a permit as it sits, but the zoning board of appeals
I
may
mean,
do
what
it.
complicates things a little bit more is the previous building inspector spoke to somebody else that I know very well that knew what was going on. He works for this town. And she agreed, oh no, that's fine, it's 10 feet on that secondary road. So,
Well, that's the only issue I have, because
problem, I'm a loser if I go to court.
from interpretations, past interpretations, we always, through the planning board, we always had one, your frontage was, your front setback was the setback that had your original residential address on, and you had to use your residential address on the street that you claim your frontage on. So if your frontage was on Buddy's Lane, you had your 175 feet on there, that's the one you had your front setbacks to meet. Your side setbacks, no matter what the boundaries were. Now, maybe I was mistaken in that, I don't know what state statute is, but through the planning board and through the zoning board of appeals, when I sat on that board, that's kind of what we went by.
I mean, if it was established that way, I certainly am not looking to have a problem, Mr. Catalaro. I'm not out there looking for these things. This was brought to me, and I think it's just it's a misfortunate situation. But if I was in the situation again, I would enforce the frontage, because it is a street, has a sidewalk, people expect to have, you know, just residential grass and trees and shrubs. And the activity areas are clearly, you know, within those setbacks, you'll build areas. If we wanted to change things, or someone had a problem with that, I would have denied them. They were going to the zoning board of appeals, could have set the precedence for everybody.
So your opinion is if it's a three-sided property, you would have to maintain 50-foot setbacks from all three streets,
Yeah.
and only 20-foot setback from a non-street side.
Like you might have, like the Point gas station, you know, it's got, you know, literally 3 setbacks that really, and that forces them to go to the zoning board of appeals for anything that they want to do.
It's also commercial, and it's non-conforming, right, again, it's undersized, it's non-conforming, right?
I can't think of a house that has 3 streets off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's common to have 2.
Well, Green Lane has Simpson Lane, Green Lane, and this is the side street, so 2 houses on both of those sides have 3 streets.
Mhm. Well, again, if the person, you know, at the time, you know, wanted a permit, we all tell people that you still need to meet the setbacks, you know, and we don't, we never really say the term, you don't need a permit, it just gets
Well,
interpreted the
that's,
wrong way.
obviously, that's the problem I have too, is the permit issue of it, but the setback, and the
Well, this has
determination of
been,
setbacks.
what you're bringing up with your experience as zoning board of appeals has been expressed to them, you know, pretty kind. Like I said, there's no animosity here, feel bad because you can't see a clear path to get this resolved.
Well, that's why I mentioned to him also, if he wanted an appeal through the zoning board of appeals.
It was right on the letter, it's the same.
It's pretty
same
much,
thing.
they've
Well, no, I get
had
that.
this many times. Sometimes wells get put in the wrong place, or foundations were off by 18 inches in the wrong spot, and those are common things for the ZBA. It's just, for you, I know it's a financial issue.
Just afraid if he starts it and then gets appealed, it's 2
Yeah.
times you've been pushed back, and that'll be real tough.
I happen to have read recently, for another purpose, a lengthy article on such issues as we're facing right here, Charlie. And probably, if you're willing to move that back, you think that that's probably your best option, it's probably the best thing to do, because someone could bring a suit, even though the official, the municipal official told you it was all right, that you still have an uphill road, you're gonna have an uphill road if they should, take you to court. So,
Especially if you have nothing in writing, unfortunately.
Exactly. I mean, shame on me, but I didn't think I needed anything in writing when I went and asked these questions first. And again, I'm only here tonight because I heard through the grapevine that this was on the agenda and I had no clue why.
Well, they just wanted to get information about the situation.
So
Well, that I was told that after
We
when I
sent a
asked.
letter, you know, it was,
right, yeah, so we know exactly what's going on.
I mean, I think
so
that's
now we all
my-
feel bad for you. I really do.
I mean,
It's a bad situation.
You would hope when you go to an official that the information's correct, but it's not the auspices of the municipality to actually give you the correct information. It's for you to do due diligence, and that's how they.
But your due diligence is going to the town and asking.
Well, you would think, yes, to an extent, but, if you go into, if you knew, you go into a building inspector or whoever it might be, and they tell you something and you basically know that's wrong, you can't just say, well, they, you know, they told me it was all right.
No, that's true, absolutely.
And so probably in this, you know, it might be biting the bullet. But I'm.
Definitely something right
I'm
with
thinking
with
that
obviously.
it's probably, and I think you really know, it's probably your best option.
Well, I think it's my best option because I cut my losses at whatever it cost me to build a slab, and, you know, pour a slab and roll it back.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be easy? No, but it's better than taking it down.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we've corrected all those books a while ago. We've gone through that little, it's probably been here for 30, 40 years. Just a little book for people to, you know, call in questions for the secretary to answer those questions. And we've gone through as best we can. You know, we're supposed to save time when someone just wants a quick answer. But it's just very
But
unfortunate.
before anybody takes action, they really should talk to you before they build a structure to make sure what they're doing is in compliance.
Why have people who say, I don't care if it's exempt, please, give me a permit. And we do. you
Yes,
know, and then, and it just covers them. Believe me, if you had a permit and they made a mistake on it, you'd be in much better shape. It's so hard to look back on it, it's just unfortunate.
No, I agree. I'm just caught between a rock and a hard place.
Unfortunately, you are. And it's your decision which way you want to go, but for this board, we can't really take any action. That's between zoning enforcement and yourself, and
Yeah.
you have two paths to take, and neither of them are desirable, unfortunately.
No.
My
I
experience
can't
with the
picture
ZBA is
moving it
probably
very
how I
easily.
would have gone, but that's, you're right, there is a 21-day appeal after that. It can be appealed to court, the land court, so just to come into
And
compliance.
although I don't know who actually
I don't know if that
made the
even matters.
complaint, but if it's who I think it is, they'll appeal it anyway, so.
Sometimes these things are caught just by,
Maybe I'm wrong, but that's
Well,
my.
you have
the
people
Board of
come
Assessors
down.
go around and do their evaluations, and sometimes it's just caught by simply, Board of Assessors says, well, you don't have a permit for a.
But you have people that go and look at the vacant lots and they wanna build a house, and then they look and, you know, I mean, John, it took me a little bit to even see that it was yours. I mean, it doesn't, it kinda sticks out, you know, it looks different than the house, pretty close to the street, so.
And sometimes
ask
people
those
go and measure
questions,
from
you
the
know?
street, not the road layout, so they get the wrong measurement, they put it where they think, because the asphalt ends here, don't
No, I was
realize that
smarter
the road
than
is.
that. I knew better.
You do, you have experience, but I'm just saying that's the ZBA deals with
That's
all
why I
these
even
kind of
kept it
things.
12 feet, not 10 feet. I said, so just leaving
Right.
leeway, yeah, I did both directions, so. No.
Okay, I apologize, unfortunately, this board can't render any resolution.
I know, but just in the past, I think it needs to be
More
clear,
clarified.
more clarification to somebody.
Absolutely agree.
Oh, he's
And-
been absolutely clear, and that was a mistake that I took on when I first got, I heard 400 square feet and you don't need a permit, I'm like, whoa.
And I
It's
see
up
to
for
anybody
200.
that's watching this or in the audience, that if you're gonna do something on your property, ask, go down to the building inspector and say, this is what we wanna do, and get something from him saying, yep, that's okay to do, get a building permit even if you don't need it. Because that's the best way to be safe and make sure it goes where it needs to go, and
Well, they have increased, it was 120 square feet for a lot of years.
many years.
And then the national code came in, so across the country, detached structures, a lot less problems, it went to 200. I can't tell you where the 400 came from, but as soon as
We
we
always
heard
said
it,
10 by 10 or 10
we
to
ended
12
it.
by 10, so.
yeah, it was always that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks.
I'll be talking to you soon.
We have a request from the Angels in America regarding gold ribbons throughout Freetown in support of kids fighting cancer. Ally, do you know anything about that?
We want to put gold ribbons in the month of September up around the town buildings, just like we did the blue ribbons last year.
The blue ribbons and hopefully generate some support for some fundraisers.
I'll make a motion to direct them to.
I'll second motion to allow. Any discussion on the motion?
I'm all set.
Hearing, not hearing any? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Highway Surveyor Charles Mackham, relative to Chapter 90 project request for crack sealing various roads. You're up, Mr. Mackham.
Good evening.
Good evening. Nice hat, that's expensive.
Yeah, it is. What are you laughing at?
Hey,
When you went to Stonehill 100 years ago, you
I feel
paid,
your pain.
you paid $150 for a college education. We want to crack seal various roads, basically Ford Road, High Street, Howland Road, Locust Street, and just take, this is 5,000 gallons crack sealing, which is basically a week's worth of work. $36,560. That's that.
Is that gonna exhaust your chapter 90 money for the year?
No. We've got, chapter 90 money this year is less than it has been in the last, shall be close to 10 years, but, no, this is just a small, this year we got just a tick under 400,000. This is just, we plan on, hopefully we're gonna be paving Narrows Road, the most southerly section of South Main Street, hopefully chip sealing Forge Road and Locust Street, hopefully. We'll do as much as we can with the money we got, so.
Okay.
Pretty simple, pretty basic.
Charlie?
I'll make a motion that we accept the request. Mr. Matt, come on.
What was the number?
The actual sum, $36,480.
No, I'm sorry, yeah, we had to change that. That was the initial paperwork I gave to Ally. I was wrong with the detail rates. I thought it was $47 an hour, not $49 an hour, so the figure is $36,560.
So I'll second the motion to allow Mr. Mackin to crack seal various roads as described by him for $36,560. Any discussion on the motion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
So we just want to just give them to Ally and then she'll give it to me tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, that's it?
That's it for
That's
now.
it, you're out of here.
Sure.
Yep.
Raise the fire station, lower the fire station.
Yeah, well, you got shovels. Start on that.
Okay, a couple of jacks.
Approve a one-day liquor license for Camp Welch on August 19th, 2017. Is anybody here to speak for Camp Welch? No.
It's an annual thing.
It's an annual thing. Have we had any complaints in the past?
We haven't, police chief, fire chief, building inspector, and health agent have already approved it.
All right. Do I have a
I'll make
motion?
a motion that we allow Camp Tom Welch to have a one-day liquor license on August 19th, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Board of Health. Charlie, you're up.
Yes. Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you today?
Oh, can't complain. For a young good man.
I haven't seen you since the solar stuff.
Yeah, and that's going very well.
That's good.
And I'm sure the town is collecting pretty good tax from that property.
I hope they are.
I hope they are. I got paid.
As long as the check clears, right?
Amen. So what we have here is 251A Middleborough Road. This is Mr. and Mrs. Bartley, the owners of the property. What happened was the property that's right down by the water. If you look over here, it's way this is the street right here, and this is the water, the end right here. But so the existing house is actually in the water right now. So it got damaged, and we went to conservation and get approval to build it, move it out of the floodplain. First, insurance wouldn't keep giving you money back to keep, rebuilding. And so we did the survey, located the floodplain, which I have shown right here in red, okay, so that all the proposed activities will stay out of the flood zone. Now, back in 2000, let me make sure I got my dates. 19, yeah, I've got a plan.
2010, 2011?
Yeah, here. The board had approved of a septic system upgrade plan, and that was done in 1991. Okay. And you can see the house at the time, right here. That's where, so it's right on the water. okay, and they had an old cesspool. So they put a pump chamber, a septic tank and a pump chamber, and then they put the system way over here. Okay, so when we did the work, the Board of Appeals gave variance because of the topography of the site, the soil condition, and obviously to stay out of the floodplain. The uniqueness of the property, you couldn't add to the land because they don't own any land next to it. And unfortunately, back in 2013, when the Board of Appeals granted the variances, it was appealed by the neighbor. And I went to court and it got dragged out for 3 years. And the court remanded it back to the Board of Appeals because the board did not state any findings of facts, the basis for the granting. They just granted it because they felt it made sense. And so we went back and then the board rewrote their decision, and that decision stands or stood. And so he got his approval. And we showed the location, obviously, if you're moving the house out of the floodplain, it follows naturally that you're gonna move the tank and the pump chamber out of the floodplain. And the leaching system is way up here. Now, there was no as-built on record that was provided to the Board of Health, and I don't know why or how that slipped through the cracks. And so what I did to reconstruct the location of the leaching field, or actually leaching chambers with the perimeter stone around it, was to look at the approved plan. And then I am also the surveyor as well as the engineer that did the work. So I surveyed the location of the existing distribution boxes. They have 2 distribution boxes, and you can see them right here. So that's how they approved it on the plan. And then I located, I popped open this right here, and then I snaked it, and so using that to construct weir. So this is based on my survey, this is based on my survey, and this is based on my survey. So using the system that they designed, I constructed the location. So the same neighbor, I believe, went to the health agent, I believe Mr. Kevin Bernardo, who was, I guess, as I gather, has moved on to work for the town of Lakeville.
Correct.
And he tried to see how he could resolve it, and I bet the same neighbor went back and said, oh, you guys gave them approval to get the septic system to 10 feet instead of the 20 or 25 feet that you would require under your local supplemental regulations to Title V. Obviously, if you look at the width of the property, you couldn't do that. And so, based on my reconstruction and available information on the ground, I reflected the location, and Kevin indicated that the neighbor came and told him, well, it was supposed to be 10 feet, and it's not over 10 feet, it's 8.5 on one side, which it is. And so Kevin suggested maybe we can do test pits. I said, well, I'm not so sure that I want to do that, because if when you do Title V inspection, for example, and it calls for disturbance of your soil absorption system. The tank we're moving, the pump chamber we're moving. I didn't want to do a test pit and then damage the system and then go, oh, geez, sorry. You know what I'm saying? He says, well, maybe you can do a test pit up above. I said, what exactly does that accomplish? You know? And so that's why we're here. She says, well, maybe you should come to the board and see which way the board wants to go. But I mean, at the end of the day, the system is well below grade. It's not hurting anybody. And maybe at the most, maybe put a, and I already have an inspection report, actually. So that's right over. I mean, so you can see it's pretty much built the way it's supposed to. So
Have you excavated that 18-inch cover? You rise them?
right, opened it up.
You opened it up?
You're right, right. Obviously, it has not received flow since the building got damaged.
Have you done Title V inspection on this? Make
Uh,
sure this field hasn't failed?
Well,
If the field's failed, then this is all just a
right.
academic exercise.
Exactly, but until you actually have, if you look at Title V, you have to actually introduce water into the system.
Right.
And let it run for any length of time. So the system has to undergo inspection based on the way it was designed. So it has to be online. To
Have you popped open the D-box and see if you've gotten solids in your D-box yet?
no, that's no such
No,
thing.
no evidence of solids in the D-box.
No, you wouldn't get that, and here's the reason. Because you have a septic tank,
Because you got pumped.
right, you have a pump, exactly. So if you had a septic tank and you're doing by gravity, and and you don't have a zipper filter or any similar filter to keep the solids, yes, but we have an outlet key with the zipper filter with the system, the way they built it, and then into a pump chamber, you're not gonna have any carryover. And the pump chamber is also designed with some sump in it,
Right.
so that the pump doesn't burn out.
So just to clarify, all you're looking to do is move your D-box, move your D-box and your pump chamber.
No, the pump chamber and the tank.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you're right, I'm
yeah.
sorry. The tank and your chamber up the lot towards your field, not move your field at all.
Exactly, not touch that.
Keep the existing D-box the same also?
Exactly.
So that doesn't change from your field to your wells, neighboring wells, none of that will change.
Exactly.
So because that's what sets your setbacks on your wells.
Right.
Am I correct in understanding that there are no wells in question?
No, not on the, they have town water.
Town water
Right,
across the street from
Right.
New Bedford.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
you have town water and
Yeah.
neighbors.
And they do as well.
Yeah.
That's why
Code just says you can't have a well within, under 50, well, by town bylaws, 100 feet. That's not an option, not an issue. So you're only here for a side setback on the existing field, is that what you're asking for?
On the existing, that's correct, that's correct.
Setbacks on your D-box and your pump station, not your
On
D-box.
the,
The tank in the pump station's not applicable. What's the field, you said the field's made up of diffusers?
it's chambers, with the perimeter stone around it. So that's why, and that, the stone is also part of the effective leaching area.
Right.
So you start putting a test pit next to when you're gonna,
Yeah, you gotta go through the stone,
Yeah.
and put soils into your stone.
exactly.
Okay.
So you're asking us,
Basically to approve the relocation of the tank and the pump chamber and leave the field alone.
Is that what you're asking us to do, or are you asking to get a variance from the side setbacks on your field?
Correct. For the
Because
existing
technically,
field.
once you start, you're supposed to upgrade everything, right?
No, because you have
Per code.
component replacement, and that's basically what this is.
So you're gonna say that's a component. So you're asking for a variance though, because you don't need a variance to move your tank in your.
That's correct.
So you're asking for a variance for the field to be within, from 8 feet 8 inches off the side,
Correct.
which is.
Well, that's
like
8.8, so that's more like 8 feet 10 inches.
8 feet 10 inches,
Right.
you're right, 8.8. And that's what the northerly bound?
So the north is up the page. So it will be the east still. That would be the
Easterly.
east, yes.
Okay. No. Your setback is this setback
It's the
here.
north side.
Oh, I mean,
So
on the
it's
setback,
the
yeah,
north
okay, sorry, I thought you
See,
meant, we
it's the north
said
side.
So the variance is only for this north side.
That's
Your
correct.
southern neighbor, he can still, he's
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah,
it's the northern neighbor.
yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we allow a variance for 8 feet, 8.8 feet off the northern setback for the leaching field.
I will second that, but I believe you haven't actually filed for the variance.
No, because I wanted to, I told her,
Oh, so this is,
if you look at my letter,
No, so this is really.
this is a,
Basically, is that the way to go?
right,
okay.
And
So, we just hired a new health agent, actually. So, through the new health agent, you'll have to file for a variance, the board will review. There is another member of the board that's not present tonight,
Okay.
so she'll have her input also.
okay.
And then, at that point, we can either approve or deny the variance on the merits.
Okay,
That's gotta be the best.
okay, no problem.
Because moving it over, it looks to me like it was as built a little off.
Right. Well, you know, at the end of the day, that's what happens with the systems when you build them. Because you're not using, it's not like building a concrete wall where you can put a laser in and put a form. You're not building it stone with form, and that's what happens. Okay, so I don't think of the contractor said, now if you hit a huge lot, then that wouldn't matter. If you lose, you still will have these things. Yeah.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of those lots, they're narrow, skinny little lots, and trying to fit it all in there, so, and I know what you've been through,
It's good.
I've seen from the past,
Yeah. Yeah.
moving the house and then all the other issues.
Exactly, so, and he doesn't, really, he needs the water, to kind of calm him, you know, needs to be in his property. You know, he just survived cancer, you know, and doesn't need the aggravation, you know. It's just, I don't know why people can't get along.
I agree with you there. Thank you, sir, I think you have a path to move forward.
I appreciate it, thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks a lot for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you. What else you have? Charlie?
That's it.
Transfer station, you want to
Oh,
talk about
yes,
the dumpster situation?
Yeah. Republic, 2 weeks ago now, told us that they no longer can transport, in their opinion, the roll-offs because they were deteriorating so badly. The roll-offs, to my knowledge, apparently are the original roll-offs that were placed there when the transfer station was initially instituted. So we have taken the initiative, and we're renting 3 roll-offs at $25 a piece per month until we can get a plan to replace them. There was a 4th roll-off that we decommissioned that was replaced by a roll-off, an extra roll-off they had there. My understanding is we possibly have the ability to use grant money to purchase 2 more roll-offs. So that would mean that we have to replace one more of these roll-offs with the bulk items. In speaking to Vicki, and she pointed out there's a number of other roll-offs that are reaching their end of their useful life. So we're probably going to need to purchase around another 6 roll-offs. We'll have to see as it goes along. The hauler for the other roll-offs is a different hauler. He hasn't expressed it, but they are deteriorating. And they all have been there for 30 years. The cardboard roll-offs, Vicki stated that if we had them covered, if they were covered roll-offs, we would get a higher price for the cardboard because there wouldn't be any issue of water damage to the, or less of them.
Didn't we buy 2 a couple of years ago?
Yes. Now, one of them they've already put into service, and the second one is the one that I just spoke of, that we put into service as the 4th.
So now there's 4 active ones that they have the bulky items that
Right.
get rotated through, correct?
Exactly. Now, yes, there's 4 of them there. One of them is a new one that we own, and the other 3 are these rented ones that we're renting for the time being.
Currently. I know this also, you can repair some of them, not saying that we shouldn't replace, but would it behoove us to repair a couple to have them off to the side?
The repairs, the quote that we got from Republic was $1,400 per foot. I've also heard that might be a little low. That might be more than the 2,000 range. Well, repairing something for even $1,400, when the cost is probably around $4,500
For a new one.
for a new one. And like I said, these are all 30 years old. I'm thinking we seriously should look into replacing most of the roll-offs that are down there, because they've reached their, at the end of their lifespan. There's a couple we can use, the one that we have, the tires, they're gonna need to be replaced. Well, like I said, 2 for cardboard, and there's 1 for plastic, and 1 for newsprint. They're going to need to be replaced in the very near future. So, we have this way of settling it now, but probably should expedite at least to replace the roll-off.
Well, the special town meeting's coming up in the
Right.
fall, so that's something we can discuss and which way we wanna go, maybe get some prices of
Yeah.
how much things cost. There's a place in Middleborough, used to be in Asona, they're in Middleborough now, that repairs and replaces these. Maybe reach out to a couple of these different ones and see, I don't know if Mid-City does repairs on them or not, but see how much they're worth, some of them we might be able to get repairs done, so we have spares, so when
Right.
they break, we have, some things you don't want, so you wanna put in a brand new dumpster if you don't have to, you know.
Yeah.
The crushing is what's tough on the dumpsters,
Yeah.
it bows the
Right,
sides, it
yeah,
crushes the
exactly.
floor.
That's what's, the sides are getting bowed, and the reinforced bottoms are rotting out because
Right.
they sit there.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, they're all stacked in, so the moisture collects on the sides, the sun never gets on them, and it kinda rots them from the sides in.
Kevin Bernardo has spoken, he had looked into putting them on concrete pallets.
Yeah, Pat.
Pads, I don't know if that's gonna really change anything, but that's something else to look at.
You might wanna look at the layout too. When Kevin was here, we had discussed looking at Dayton, because their layout is a little bit different than ours. It allows that center, they get moved a lot around by machineries a lot, as you know.
Right.
The layout, the Dayton's layout, it doesn't require them to move to do a crush, to pull out someone's out to do a crush, because the way it's sawtooth, they can come right in, crush, you have the top. So that might be something that save a little bit of life for the dumpster too. So maybe, if we're gonna spend the money, which was appropriate, I think we appropriated $25,000 at town meeting to do a cement pad and stuff. So if that's the case, then maybe you can change the layout that time and make something that's a little easier for Vicky to deal with, and maybe save the life of the dumpsters a little bit. Okay. Thank you, that's it
That's it for health.
for health. I miss being health chair. It's short. Personnel board, we have some motions in front of us. Jackie Brown, reappoint election workers as submitted by town clerk Jackie Brown, see attached. I'll entertain a motion to reappoint, however, I do have one issue. My mother is actually volunteers to be an election worker, so I would recuse myself on Susan Joe's and wouldn't be able to take action tonight on that. But for everything else,
I'll make
entertain
a
a
motion to reappoint and appoint the election workers as to the list prepared by the town clerk, with the exception of Susan Jokes, which will be put on.
We'll put on for the next meeting.
Next meeting.
I'll second that motion. I have a motion made and seconded to reappoint per the list given to us by Jackie Brown and also posted at the town hall for public viewing. Any discussion on the motion?
No discussion here.
All in favor?
Aye.
And to discuss setting up a meeting with the town hall, library, and highway department union. It's time for negotiations to start again. Seems like we just finished the police one a year ago, I guess it's been already, but it's time to start again. We normally start those in September, October.
And just so you're aware, in the contract, there is a provision that every year we meet with the union to discuss things in general. It's probably even before we got into contract negotiations.
Right.
We just have.
They can bring up any relative points that have been
whether it's-
items of contention.
Whether it's, working
Correct.
issues or ideas, do something better.
Why don't we hold off setting up that meeting
Yeah.
until Lisa comes back, so all three of our schedules can converge on one date. So why don't we hold that over to that 24th, the next regular scheduled town meeting, not the special, not town meeting, I'm sorry, selectmen's
Regular
meeting,
meeting, yeah.
not the special one we're having. Okay. Accept change of status resignation for Jordan Costa as submitted by Charles Macomber, Highway Surveyor.
I'll make a motion to accept that.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion on the motion? That's changing Jordan Costa from heavy equipment operator 2, Highway Department from 2245 to resignation. I'll second that motion. Any discussion on the motion?
No discussion.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Can we send Jordan a letter saying, thanking him for his service with the town? Short, but exemplary service with the town. Discuss recommendations as well as appoint, sign, change of status for a part-time Council of Agents Senior Clerk Sarah Gilbert and as submitted by Janet Tisdale, COA. Is anybody here from the COA to discuss that? No. All right, we have a recommendation. Did we do a background check on, and we're all good on that? She's filled out the application. Unfortunately, my schedule didn't allow me to attend this one. Normally, I like to attend these, or unless another member of the board would like to attend in my stay. Unfortunately, my schedule didn't allow the meeting that they scheduled, so they did it by themselves. They turned in the sheets, correct?
Yeah.
And they did their sheets as they're supposed to, so.
All right, that being done,
So
I'll make a motion to appoint Sarah Gilbert.
I have a motion made to sign the change of status form for Sarah, and seconded, sign for Sarah Gilbert, Senior Clerk, COA, at the rate of $15.98. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Discuss recommendations as well as appoint, sign, change of status for 2 library technicians, Chelsea Hester and Brittany Normanton, as submitted by Dorothy Stanley Ballard, Library Director. Now that I did, they were gracious enough to set a schedule with me that worked out, and we did have the meeting. It was held here upstairs. It was an excellent meeting. We had a good group of qualified candidates. The board selected these 2 here. I think they'll be an asset to the library. Did we get our...
We got one back for Chelsea. Brittany's hasn't come back yet.
Brittany's has not come back yet. So we're gonna hold over. Do you wanna come up for a quick second? Lucille Rosa, Director of the library. Actually, Chairman of the trustees. I knew as soon as I said it was wrong. So thank you for having me the other night at the meeting. I think it went well.
Yes, it did.
I think we had a great group of candidates. We've gotten Chelsea's back. She's all set. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten Brittany's back yet.
You mean like something she's got to sign?
Yeah, she signed it. We do a background check just to make sure she's doesn't have anything that would preclude her from serving the town in that capacity, dealing with elderly and children and things of that. So we're just waiting for that to come back.
Oh, okay.
So
The chairman would,
sure.
I would make a motion to appoint Chelsea and on Brittany, appoint her contingent on the.
Well, why don't we just split them, if you don't mind? We'll split them. We'll do Chelsea first, and then we'll do Brittany. How's that?
Right, that'll work, no problem.
All right. So what do you want to do for a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint her.
You make a motion to appoint Chelsea Hester.
Approve.
I'll second the motion to appoint Chelsea Hester to. Let me just get her
Library technician.
title and pay rate correct. I'm sorry. I'm just going through real quick. Chelsea Hester to library technician at the rate of $14.76 an hour, hired at 25 hours, correct?
Yes.
And I'll second that motion. We have a motion made and seconded to hire Chelsea Hester. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, Brittany Normanton. What's your pleasure on Brittany Normanton?
Well, why don't we, like I said, why don't we appoint her a contingent on the appropriate successful background check?
All right, would you make that as a motion?
I'll make that as a motion.
All right, we have a motion to hire Brittany Normanton as library technician for the library at $14.76 as a contingent on her passing her background check to satisfaction of the board. Again, at 25 hours $14.76 an hour. That was seconded, so we have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
All set?
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And that'll do it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm glad you got two good quality candidates.
We are too.
Employees now, I should say.
Yes, thank you so much.
Lucille, on the library building committee,
Excuse me?
Lucille, on the library building committee, any, news on that, any forward motion?
Well, we're going to be starting up again in the fall. And all we have to do that's within our abilities without getting anybody else involved is to finish the building program. And the rest is out of our hands. You know, I mean, we can put in requests for more money like we did last year, but it never got put on the warrant, so, you know.
Because
But we
2
will
years,
be
it will
working.
be 2 years. We want to be there for the 2-year, next.
Wouldn't that be nice?
All right?
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
New business, dates for upcoming Board of Selectmen's meetings, Monday, August 14th. Now, we're scratching Monday 14th, or are we keeping Monday 14th? All right, we're keeping Monday the 14th because we have a couple personnel issues. Monday the 21st is our next scheduled one after that, that's our normal one. And then Wednesday, August 23rd. Now, on August 23rd, that's gonna be a special one because we are inviting, we've heard back from DEP. DEP can't make the 14th meeting, so they said they can make one for the 23rd. So Wednesday, it'll be here at 6 o'clock, correct?
It'll be at the elementary school.
We're gonna do the elementary school again? Okay. So it'll be Wednesday, August 23rd, at the elementary school, 6 PM. And that'll be discussion of Excel with DEP, what their findings were. The board's position on that is gonna be, I don't know how much we can actually say at that meeting, pursuant to other things that are going on, but it's one that everybody should attend that can, have their opinion heard, hear what DEP is saying, what their findings were, so. We look forward to seeing you all there. We have no executive session on the books for today, so with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to
Make a motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
I'll second the motion to adjourn. Any discussion on that motion?
No
You
discussion.
sure you want to adjourn?
Yes, I'm sure I want to.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. We are adjourned.